Let's talk about core muscles. So I'm primarily going to do this down low because I'll be doing some exercises on the floor, so just kind of bear with me a little bit. But we're going to talk about the core, all right? And there is some different interpretations of what the core is. Some people have a different idea, but the majority would consider the core muscles to be the front, the sides, and the lower back. Okay, so we're going to talk about abdominals in the front near your stomach. We're going to talk about obliques, which are just above your hip bones. So you feel the top of your hips and they kind of ride up, all right, halfway up towards your armpit. So obliques on the sides. And then your lower back, if you did the muscle anatomy, our first assignment for strength training, and you researched what muscles in the lower back, you probably came up with a lot of different answers. And there are a ton of muscles back there, some big, some small, but the one of the major muscles, it starts in the lower back, it actually goes pretty high along the spine, all right, but it's really in charge of extending up. So we're talking about the erector spinae, okay? And with the core muscles, they work in different ways, but it's all about the movement of your trunk. Okay, so you're going to talk about trunk flexion, rotation, extension. Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with my arms or my legs. All right, so the core would be abs in the front, obliques on the sides, erector spinae in the lower back. Okay, abs first. Okay, the abdominals are in charge of trunk flexion. All right, so bicep flexion is this way, trunk flexion is this way. All right, and notice how I'm curling. All right, my back, you can see up above behind my shoulders, I'm curling there. I'm not doing a curl with my back straight like this. All right, the big difference is a crunch versus a sit-up. All right, if you do a sit-up, all right, you're going to use a little bit of abs, but a lot of times we feel that in the top of the quadriceps, all right, and the hip flexors, all right, because we're not curling our trunk. We're just curling at the hips. So what I mean is, if I get set up for a sit-up here, and I've got my knees bent, and I'm down on the floor, and from my hips to my shoulders stays straight. All right, well, my abs only kicked in to help keep my trunk straight. They didn't kick in to help curl my trunk. All right, and that's the difference between a sit-up and a crunch. A crunch, my lower back has to stay on the floor. All right, my upper back is what does the movement. So this is a crunch where my shoulder blades are getting off the floor and my back is curling, but my lower back stays on the floor. All right, so if I were to do that, so you can see from the side in a position up here. So if I had my arms across and pretend like I'm laying on the floor here. All right, instead of curling at my hips like this and keeping my back straight, I would want to curl like that. So I need to use my abs to actually shorten. So my abs are here and they're pulling, all right, my chest down towards, all right, my legs. The opposite side of this would be a leg raise. All right, a leg raise would be, instead of a top down movement, it's a bottom up. So your legs and hips are coming up. This is one of the exercises that I see in the PA Fitness Center. All right, 99 out of 100 students do this incorrectly. All right, and it's not their fault. All right, you kind of see the tower and you get up and you start swinging your legs out. I'm talking about the one where we have, what's this? Where we have our elbows in the tower, all right, and we swing our legs up like this. All right, it's hard to do without the actual machine, but if you just swing your legs up, all right, you're not using your abs. All right, I have students who are in class or after school who say, Mr. Wilk, do you have any ankle weights? Or do you have any ways to make this harder? Yeah, well, the way to make it harder is actually do it correctly, okay? If you just swing your legs, you're only using your quads and your hip flexors. All right, you have to swing in a way so that your hips come up and tilt and curl, all right, up towards your chest. To show that, I'll do it on the floor, just so you know what I'm talking about. All right, and you can do a leg raise on the floor as well. And some of people that had PE early on may have done it in a routine, but what I'm talking about is, instead of just swinging my legs up from here to here, All right, you can see my upper, my middle, and my lower back is staying on the floor. I could do these all day. All right, but to make it harder, I have to have my hips curl up towards my chest. All right, so I'd have to go here and then curl. You can see my tailbone and my butt come off the floor. So that's where the abs kick in. Just that my abs are not doing anything here. But once I get to this point and I curl, oh, that's where it gets tough. Okay? So a lot of students incorrectly do the leg raise because they're just lifting their legs and they're not curling their trunk or flexing their abs. All right? With the obliques, let's talk about obliques. Obliques are in charge of twisting. All right, and it's called lateral flexion. Okay, so bending, all right, side to side. So lateral flexion, twisting, also known as rotating. Okay, now it's important to train your obliques if you are an athlete that does any type of twisting, all right, or lateral movements. All right, if you are someone that plays baseball or softball, lacrosse, golf, okay, if you are someone who throws the discus or shot put, all right, you need that movement. A pitcher or throwing, all right, quarterbacks, any type of rotation where you're pushing from one side of your body and rotating your upper body as well. All right, that motion, all right, you can see it in a lot of sports, but should definitely train their obliques. All right, a lot of that power comes from the legs and squatting and bending, but all right, we do get a lot as well from the obliques from twisting. All right, and again, I said side bending as well. All right, so obliques are on the sides. We train those statically, which means stationary, with something like a side plank, or you can take a cable or a band, all right, and you can rotate. All right, if I grabbed a band or a cable that was here and it was connected to the machine that way, I could bend and twist my whole body this way. All right, you may have seen people at the gym or you've done it yourself, but if you take a medicine ball and you twist, all right, as long as you're twisting your shoulders all the way, not just reaching your arms, all right, you can train your obliques. Okay, erector spinae. Let's talk about the lower back. It's the opposite. It's for trunk extension. So I'm going from a curled state into an extended one. All right. Superman exercise or bird dogs, things on the floor where you extend your trunk up this way, like, all right, or the most popular one is at a gym where you have the little tower and you put your legs in and you bend over and you extend up. All right, and you can add weight to this as well. We have one at the fitness center at PA over by the corner in the garage door. So back extension, focusing on the lower back. So it's the opposite of the abs. Instead of curling forward, all right, we need to extend back. And again, it's the same rule where you don't want to just keep your back straight and bend at the hips like this. You would want to, all right, curl down and then use your muscles to straighten your back on the way up. All right. It's important to train. They're not like well-defined muscles where if you looked in the mirror, you'd be able to see a well-defined erector spinae, but it's important for stabilization. It helps stabilize your whole upper body. So you want to make sure that you definitely train. And if you are someone that's heavy into training the core muscles, you wouldn't want to get imbalanced where if your muscles in the front got too strong and your muscles in the back, all right, that can actually lead to a lot of injury in other exercises. All right, so you definitely want to train the erector spinae. You want to isolate, do isolation exercises. One of the biggest compound exercises that we use to strengthen erector spinae is that deadlift. All right, from the leg video, but by bending and lifting the weight off the ground, we're using our muscles on our back to help keep our back straight. Okay, so those are the three. You can expect an assessment for all the muscles coming up next week. All right, I'll talk more about that on Google Classroom, but we've covered everything we've covered every muscle we wanted to talk about. We're going to make sure we take a look at what you know and what you can take away from this class as a whole. All right, carry on.